The Pew Research Center surveyed 1,502 U.S. adults from January 25th to February 8, 2021. According to their results, 92% of participants 65 and older owned a cell phone. If needed, we'll use the following statistical tool to answer the questions. The first one says, are the 1,502 U.S. adults the population or the sample? Well, we took a survey from a population, so this is in fact a sample. Now it says select the correct notation for the proportion. Well, this is the proportion of the US adults surveyed, so that's going to be our p hat is 0.92. According to the Pew Research Center, the survey was conducted by interviewers under the direction of Abbott Associates and is weighted to be representative of the U.S. adult population by gender, race, ethnicity, education, and other categories. So here's what we want to do for this particular problem. We want to go ahead and assume that P is 0.92 and create a single sample where N is 60, and then let's compare the sample proportion to P. So let's go over to our statistical tool here. Let's go ahead. You can either toggle these however you want, or you can actually enter numerical values. So I'm going to go ahead and enter numerical values. So let's use 0.92 and sample size 60 as stated in the problem. We want a single sample, and then I'm going to draw it. And let's see what happens. Well, in our particular sample, we get that p hat is 0.95, which is slightly bigger than the population proportion. So let's write that down. So in our sample, we saw a p hat of 0.95, which is slightly larger than p, which equals 0.92. Let's look at the next one. If you drew another sample, so a single sample with n equals 60, would we get the same results? Well, we don't have to guess. We could just do it. So let's go ahead and draw another sample. Oh, look at that. Now we got that P is 0.867. So no, not necessarily. We would not get the same thing. In fact, when we ran it again, we saw P hat being equal to 0.867. Let's look at this next one. It says generate 100 samples of size 60. So let's do that. So we want to now toggle 100, and we're going to draw those samples. So there it is. We see all of these samples showing up at the bottom here. It says, what is the mean of the distribution? For us, we ended up getting 0.923. Here's the mean of the samples. Okay, so that's 0.923 is what we saw in ours. Now it says, a news reporter claims that less than half of US adults over the age of 65 own a cell phone. Use your sampling distribution to determine if this claim is reasonable. And if we look down here, we ran 100 samples and notice that none of them ended up giving us that the sample proportion is even nowhere near 0.5. So really what we're seeing is that in fact, this does not seem reasonable. Note, none of our sample proportions were even close to that. So this reporter's claim is very unreasonable.